How is it going, everybody? And welcome to my review on Tokyo Ghoul Re, where I will be talking about and discussing chapter 166 entitled E.T. And boy, oh boy, this was a very interesting chapter we got this week on Tokyo Ghoul. It wasn't a complex chapter at all, really. It was very simple, very straightforward, a very battle-centric, very battle-oriented chapter with the CCG and the GOAT organization teaming up to fight back against the V organization and this Kagane monster that fell from the sky. But with the content that we got in this chapter, I really did enjoy this because I honestly thought that Ishida was going to cut away from the Kagane monster and we would stick with Kaneki and Ayato basically walking through the underground, heading towards the 19th ward. And Ishida kind of did troll us in the beginning by giving us a brief glimpse of Kaneki and Ayato doing just that, but then for the remainder of this chapter, just dealing with this Kagane monster as it just destroyed and obliterated the CCG fodder. And besides the fact that this Kagane monster is just annihilating all of these nameless investigators, Ui really did step up in this chapter, and I dare say like this is his chapter to shine. Like this is his redemption arc, not only giving orders to the CCG investigators, but also working alongside the ghouls as well to combat against this Kakuja monster, which would have been my favorite section of this chapter if we didn't have Kaiko just running circles around Hirako, Bunjin, Ito, and Yusa. This man, I have been waiting to see him go in for quite a long time, and honestly, it did not disappoint. But once we got to the last page of this chapter, and we finally got the reveal of the body inside the Kakuja monster, and then also coming to learn who is in fact controlling it, I know that this chapter left a lot of Eto fans very upset coming to learn the fate of one of their favorite characters. And I think I'm like 95% sure that with this reveal, that appears to be Eto's body wrapped in bandages coming out of the Kakuja monster, missing her head. We don't know where it is, but in its place, we see a cross, which is indicating it is being controlled remotely by Donato through his detachable Kagane. But the one question you guys should be asking yourselves right now is that in fact, Eto's body we see coming out of the Kakuja form, because we don't have Eto's head on standby to where we can 100% confirm that is in fact Eto's body. So this entire week leading up to the next chapter, there's going to be a lot of room for speculation and trying to figure out who that body actually belongs to. But we'll be talking more about that body and the whole Kakuja reveal later on in this review. But for right now, let's go back to the beginning of this chapter where we got this brief glimpse of Kaneki and Ayato walking towards the 19th ward. And I actually really like that Ishida did this on the very first page, because I was even asking the question whether we were going to stay with the Kakuja monster or if we were going to shift to another storyline entirely. And we kind of got both on the very first page of chapter 166, because we got to briefly see Kaneki and Ayato walking through the underground, heading towards the 19th ward, and then immediately shift over to the Kakuja monster, just battling and annihilating all of the faceless and nameless CCG investigators on the front lines. This monstrosity is slicing, dicing, and decapitating all of the nameless investigators. The CCG fodder is falling hard in this chapter, and I feel kind of bad for these characters because they only serve one purpose, and that purpose is to die. We don't know their names, we don't know their faces, they are just meant to die nameless deaths. And it's not the first time this has happened in Tokyo Ghoul. It happened in the past, and it most certainly will happen in the future. But for right now, I thought it would be nice just to have a brief moment of silence for all of the nameless Tokyo Ghoul characters that have died, past, present, and the inevitable future. That's good enough. But even though I am joking about a majority of these character deaths, there is one character in particular where we do know her name, we do know her face, and she most likely died in this week's latest chapter. I'm talking about the character of Misato. Now, Misato isn't a main character within the story of Tokyo Ghoul. She is mainly just a predominant side character that has popped up time and time again. But she's been a part of the CCG, she's been a part of some major battles, and she even has her own chapter in one of the light novels. So she's not just a random throwaway character. But when you see her fate within this week's latest chapter, it just goes to remind you how cruel Ishida can be. Because think back to Bunjin and Yoriko's wedding. who caught the bouquet at Yoriko's wedding? It was Misato. And if you know the tradition of catching the bouquet, she was most likely to get married very, very soon. And knowing her character, knowing she had a crush on Amon and just was that type of character that wanted to get married in the near future, and you see what happened to her in this week's latest chapter, you're cruel, Ishida. You are very, very cruel. So that right there is where we cap off the first section of this chapter, and we transition right into Ui's section. And by far, this is Ui's section and the start of his redemption arc. Him taking command on the battlefield, getting ready to lead the humans and the ghouls, getting them information to fight back against the Kakaja monster. Ui is starting to make amends for his past mistakes. But let's not forget, Ui is responsible for rising Furuto to power in the first place. He backed him as the bureau chief of the CCG and was basically his right-hand man. Ui's got a lot to make up for, but if this is the start of it, I am very happy and very pleased with what I am seeing. And I really do like in the beginning of this section when he's yelling back to Hirako, it's like, what should we do? And Hirako's basically telling him, it's like, the OGs are gone. Shinohara, Kuroiwa, Hoji, Arima, everyone that fought against an owl is basically gone. The only one with the most experience that is still alive is you. Ui, I am leaving this up to you. And I just love getting to see him take command, getting the humans and the ghouls to cooperate and to work together. The ghouls are using their Kaganes as shields. We see Mugen, we see Suzuya. This is an awesome thing to see, and it all leads up to this awesome panel of Ui barking orders at everyone, is basically saying, Kisho Arima is no longer with us. We'll take this beast down ourselves. This is badass, and I love this. So we transition away from Ui and we make our way over to Hirako, Bunjin, Yusa, and Ito fighting back against Kaiko. And Kaiko is running circles around the four of them. This man, I have been waiting for a very long time to make a move. He is the sole person that we really do know within the V organization. And he's been so shady this entire time. I have been hoping that he has had the skills to back up his shadiness. And he does. In spades. He is taunting all four of them. He's having fun while attacking everybody in this situation. And as we come to learn, this man trained Arima when he was younger. So he's got the same skill sets that Arima's had. This is impressive. And I love the fact that he really does make quick work of a lot of these characters. He slashes at Ito, he stabs Bunjin in the shoulder, and just knocks down Hirako as if it is nothing. And it's really all left to Yusa to fight back against him. And Keiko's having so much fun taunting and just making fun of little Arima, basically saying, you're the kid with Arima blood, right? You know, I used to train Arima. You're not as strong as he used to be. But Yusa ends up surprising him to where he does a sneak attack by stabbing him in the foot and catches him off guard. This was an awesome thing to happen, but it gets better from there because he ends up slicing right through Keiko's face as if it's cutting a piece of cake, and he ends up dying.
Fatality!
And by dead, I mean we presume him to be dead for about 2.4 seconds until we see him reattach his face as if it's nothing. This man, Kaiko, has Noro levels of regeneration. And I'm actually really glad that he wasn't really like a pushover. This man is going to be a formidable opponent and going to be tough to bring down. So I am very excited to see who's going to be fighting him in the future, and is it going to have to come down to Kaneki to kill this man. So if you thought things couldn't get worse with what we learned with Kaiko, you thought wrong, because once Juzo goes in for the killing blow on the Kakaja monster, we get the reveal of the body within inside the Kakaja, and this only leads to more speculations and more theories about what this means moving forward, because we come to see the body, it's got a female physique, we can see the bandages on it, and it's missing a head. So with those clues right there, we can basically come to the logical conclusion that this is most likely Eto's body. But then we see a cross coming out of the neck, which means it's most likely being controlled by Donato. So it turns out, if this is in fact true, Eto died during the end of the Cochlear Raid arc, and her body got taken by V, and they are now using it for their own gains, for their own agenda. I feel so bad for the Eto fans right now because they all thought Eto was going to be alive. This was not the fate that they were expecting for their beloved Eto, but hey, look on the bright side. While Eto was away, at least she found religion. But there might be a small glimmer of hope for the Eto fans out there, because as it stands right now, and like I stated earlier on in the review, we cannot 100% confirm that this body actually belongs to Eto. And so this leads many people to speculate and throw out other names as to whom the body might belong to. And one name I find to be very interesting. What if this body was in fact Hairu's body? And the sole evidence that people seem to latch onto is the fact that it's missing its head, because the last time we saw Hairu's head, it was in a jar being held by Furuta. And I would find this to be very fascinating because it would change the overall dynamic of this fight, because you had Ui on one side fighting back against a monstrous form of his best friend. And this would just be so cruel by Furuta, because for him to bring back to life Ui's best friend, but in this way, I'd be like, yo, this man is a troll. I would love that, but I'm still leaning towards the side that this body does in fact belong to Eto, just because of the Kagane form. It's very owl-based, and we see bandages on the body. And I do know that when Eto, the last time we saw her, she wasn't covered in bandages in Cochlea, but they could have just added it. We don't know. This leaves a lot of room for speculation, so I definitely want to know your guys' thoughts on this. Is it Eto or is it Hairu? But as we make our way to the final panel of this page with that monstrous discovery of the Nato just basically controlling this Kakuja form, and then Kaiko just reattaching his face, basically saying round 2 is about to start, and we make our way to this panel.
Round 2. Fight.
Complete and utter chaos. I don't know who is alive, who is dead, who is injured in this final panel. All I know is Kaganes are going everywhere. We see people and limbs flying everywhere. And I bet you that with the next chapter, we are going to cut away from this and we are going to go back to Kaneki and Ayato's adventures in the underground, going towards the 19th ward, because that is just something that Ishida would do. But it makes me very curious. Are we going to have a character, a major character, die in this situation? I am very curious to see when we come back to this situation, who's going to be alive and who is going to be dead. Anyway, guys, that is my review on chapter 166 of Tokyo Ghoul Re. A very enjoyable chapter, though it being very straightforward and being a very battle-oriented chapter. I really like the stuff we got with Ui. I liked seeing Keiko in combat, and then that reveal of the body in the Kakuja form. I'm really glad that Ishida did not drag out that reveal, and we literally got it the next chapter after it fell from the sky. But I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts, theories, and speculations on this week's latest chapter, what we got. Who do you think the body actually is? Is it Eto or Hairu? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Feel free to subscribe, guys. I would love to talk with you guys more about Tokyo Ghoul, and feel free to leave a like. And if you guys want to talk about Tokyo Ghoul outside of YouTube, feel free to follow me on Twitter. A link to my Twitter can be found in the description below. But that's going to be it, guys. Chapter 167 comes out next week, but also the start of the Tokyo Ghoul Re anime. That is going to be something. It's going to be interesting, but it's going to be something. So I am definitely looking forward to that. So until my next chapter live reaction or review, or my Tokyo Ghoul Re live reaction or review, I'll talk with you guys then. See you later, guys.